Hi, and welcome to the overview of Clearly Closing. Clearly Closing is a contact management system that will help you become a better consultant to your clients. Clearly Closing easily manages all of your leads, your listings, and your closings, and allows you to invite them into a system where they have access to all the details surrounding a real estate transaction. And as you'll see, that within minutes of using Clearly Closing, you'll be able to interact with your clients like never before. So on the home screen of the program, you have your leads, your listings, and your contracts. These are easily populated onto the screen by using the new buyer, new seller tabs or going into the contact section. Now, once they appear on the home screen, you can invite them into the system. And what that looks like is by clicking on their transaction button and you invite them, this buyer will now receive an email that looks like this. They then click on this link and it opens up a window into the program that provides them with a few different items. First of all, it provides them with incredible information about the entire transaction process, information that we have to communicate to them each and every time. So each of these slide out screens educates them on all of this information they need to know about the real estate transaction process. And as you'll see, it also provides links to different documents that you want them to view or different websites that you want them to go to. So on these milestone buttons here, they now can educate themselves on the whole process, or you now have a system wherein you can walk them through the entire process, educating them to help them make better decisions. They have a sample timeline here that will appear when they are a lead and they're not under contract yet. And each of these timeline items here explains what the different item is. Here's our option period, here's our financing contingency period, and here's our closing date. Once they go under contract, you enter that information into their transaction page and the timeline will change to their actual transaction. And finally, there is a doc box, which is a repository for any shared documents that you have with this client, be listing agreement, buyer representation agreements, or contracts. So their window here gives them all this information that they need to know about the transaction process, gives them a timeline for their transaction, and gives them access to their documents. Now, as an agent, you may look at all of this information and say to yourself, that's very good information that I need to make sure I cover with every buyer and seller. However, I may want to word it a little bit differently. I may want to even add my own sections in there. One of the powerful features of Clearly Closing is that it allows you to customize the program. In the templates section, you can go to each individual milestone and modify the information within that milestone. So you can go in and change the language in the milestone. You can go in and add a link to a website. You can even upload documents and create links to those documents within that particular milestone. If you want to create an entirely new section, there's a place for that. And if you want to sort the sections in a different order, there's a way to do that as well. So in essence, the program allows you to customize it to whatever meets your needs and communicate whatever information, whatever documents you think are critical to communicating to your client. Now, Clearly Closing also allows you to very effectively manage all of your transactions. By taking the contract dates, effective date, option period date, closing date, etc., and entering them in on the timeline items input section, you then create a custom timeline for that transaction, which you have access to and your client will have access to as well. Both you and your client will get reminders prior to each of these dates occurring as well. You can input your closing parties and input any important contract details for that particular transaction. And of course, you can upload any of the documents that you want to keep and have accessible to the client as well. Now on the home screen, there's a feature called the timeline view, which is very, very helpful when you have multiple transactions and you want to keep up with all the dates. It gives you a snapshot of all your timelines on one screen. Now, some other very useful features are just right from the home screen. There's a notes section for every one of your transactions where you can, of course, keep up with notes. and you can even create reminders for each of your clients on whatever you choose. Once they go under contract, you also have this checklist for important items for you to take care of throughout the transaction. Now, these checklists are customizable as well by going to the template section and then going to the checklist item for the buyer or seller. You can then create any new reminder you want for a transaction reminder and program it to however many days before or after a certain time period within the transaction. This is viewable only by the agent, and it's just a way of making sure that you're keeping up with all those important contract details and not letting anything slip by. Once a person closes their transaction, you can then archive that information, and it goes into the archive section, which you will have access to and your client will have access to as well. So even after closing, you can still access their transaction, pull up any documents from their closing, go back and look at all the contract details and closing parties, and once again the client will have access to it as well. Unless you choose not to, you can block their access to the transaction after closing if you so choose. So in conclusion, Clearly Closing is a system where you can become a better consultant than ever to your clients by providing them access to and transparency into the real estate transaction process, providing them access to documents that you need to review with them, providing them with a customized timeline and reminders for their transaction, providing them access to all of the closing documents, all while giving you the ability to very easily manage your leads, your listings, and your closings in one program. So sign up for a free trial today and let me know what you think. Thank you.